Hi everybody, my name is Lisa Farlafi, and I'm the director of Hot Brown Honey. And over here,
Hi, I'm Busty Beats. I'm the musical director and co-writer and co-creator with Lisa.
woohoo! Just a little bit about Hot Brown Honey. We're essentially a theatre show, or cabaret in some people's eyes, but we're also fiercely political, femmes of colour to the front, owning our bodies, our stories, and travelling all around the world, doing what we do. You want to add to that, Busty?
Yes. As Lisa said, we decolonize one stage at a time. And yes, decolonize and moisturize. Always remember to moisturize. Need to do it a lot lately. Lots of it.
Yeah. Especially the mums and the aunties. Is that not right, Busty?
Yes, that is right. Because it is a time of great change and upheaval. And especially, and it has reminded me about a great time of change and upheaval in my own life with having a child. Some similarities. Yeah.
Cool. So today we're here to talk a little bit about our strategies as a touring theatre company, and we tour a lot all around the world, and our strategies to be able to tour with the cast's kids. Yeah. So Busty, I'm just the auntie in the background here, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I support that.
Yeah.
And then Busty will talk a bit about what that's like, I guess. So we're really trying to give a bit of an insight on another way to do it, I guess, or even just the fact to talk about it at all. I feel like in our industry, in the theatre industry, this is something that's not even really talked about, or let alone addressed or strategized around.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some pockets of people doing it, but I think on a main scale, I think it's quite neglected. So today we'll chat about how we've approached it, and maybe we might throw some questions backwards and forwards. I don't know. Does that sound good, Busty?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yes.
So I'll throw you one first.
Yes.
When we began touring, did you even sort of think, can I do this as a mum with a small dog? Lily Mae was quite young then. What were the concerns or the things you were thinking about in the beginning of our touring, career?
Yeah. Well, definitely, I'd kind of come out of a time, and we started touring when Lily Mae was quite young, five. Yeah. And so it was really, I'd come out of a time where I just thought I had to stop making art. So you know how you got to just dedicate your life to the children, and that can be a surprising shock, as well as just kind of going, I could just do little bits of stuff, need to stay stationary, starting to get into that school mode and all that sort of stuff. But with Hot Brown Honey, it really, because we have another mother in the cast as well, and it became really clear that touring with the kids was part of a greater strategy, I suppose, for our own health and well-being, as well as the fact that this really hadn't been addressed across the board in the arts. So much is nighttime based, or if you're working in the theatre or in music, it's long days, long nights, and there's no real understanding about how parenthood is a part of the actual flow of making work. Yeah, so with Hot Brown Honey, it was really, we had so many discussions about it and talks about it and going, how could we possibly even see this happening? But we managed to sort of make it happen because everyone in the company, our producer, everyone was on board to make it happen. Yeah.
And I could see, like, from the outside, for me as a director and a co-writer with Busty, like, you know, it was clear to me, if we want to do this show at all, we must support the mothers in this show to be able to come, you know, and it was a no-brainer in that way. So as an auntie, you know, I'm not a very good babysitting auntie, but I am a good strategizing auntie, and I'll do the hard work. So, you know, we talked about ways in which, if a venue, well, venues, just organizations in general, not really coming on board to support the costs of the touring with kids, like sometimes partially, but it's not, it's something you really have to negotiate. Hey, Rusty, it's like, you know, not many venues have something in place that's there to support touring parents. So for us, it was like, okay, we'll ask all the questions to the venues, and if they can't support us, at least we've brought it up with them and pushed for it, but we will also find our own way to support that. So, you know, one of our strategies is pretty old school, really. Like, we sell merchandise at our shows, which is handmade, like earrings and shirts like this. Yeah. And that was what the money we made from people who loved our work, went on to, you know, support bringing the kids. Yeah. But I think it was about knowing that probably a lot of the systems in place are not going to help us, and that we think it's important that mothers still are working in the industry. Yeah. You know, you shouldn't, like, you know, I get what you mean, but see how, you know, like, I've spoken to other mums who feel like they had to, you know, there's those moments where you feel like you need to just dedicate your time, and, you know, with our type of work, just like, we're everywhere as freelancers. Hey, you know, because you and I traveled a lot before this ever happened, you know, before you had Little May. So that reassessment, I guess, and discussion that we had as co-company drivers. And do you think, like, do you think any of that's shifting in the industry personally?
It's been really interesting going to so many different countries. It was very kind of amazing being in Ireland back in 2016, when there was all the Repeal the Eighth stuff, and the Waking the Feminists movement started actually addressing mothers in the arts, and trying to make space in their scene for how, you know, motherhood could happen in tandem with making work, where they would just, like, basically open up spaces and have a childcare worker, you know, hanging out with the kids while mums were able to make work. And it's such a, you know, and also going over to Canada and going, you know, having this amazing relationship with some beautiful people at a venue, and them actually being really open to the conversation, like, you know, about this, because maybe it hadn't been on their radar before, but then it became something that could be discussed and negotiated and talked about. Not so much in Australia. I feel like there's still a lot of work to go there. But then that also just moved into that whole world when we got to, like, hang out with the First Nations people over there, and here as well, and in New Zealand, where, like, you know, those models of, like, parenthood are just so I don't know, I felt that they were so known to us already. That's why we were doing it. We were like, kids shouldn't be away from their mums. Like, you know, it should be an experience that they can have together. And luckily with Hot Brown Honey, there's lots of aunties who, you know, are just around. They don't even have to be doing anything. Everyone's just there, you know, and understanding that this is what's happening.
Yeah. And I think, like, that idea of, like, you know, we do a bit of, like, crowd fun, and, you know, like, encouraging people to, like, remember that it takes a village, that, you know, because I mean, from the outside, I, like, as an auntie who's seen many of my friends have children, it's like, I feel that you can often feel alone now, which is so weird to, you know, coming from a culture that has, you know, I grew up with heaps of cousins and heaps of people around me, and it's becoming more and more nuclear, like this Western way of bringing up kids, which is sort of nice when, you know, when we're on the road, like each auntie has a different type of relationship with the kids. And also when, you know, like when you say like New Zealand or, you know, Canada or those places, it's funny because they're usually the offers we get from like other Indigenous mothers saying, do you need a hand like with the kids, or you know, because they understand that you need some sense of community or you know, community care, and because they can see we're on the road, and also what we're doing, you know, like wanting to be a part of that message. Because I think in our show, like, not only are we portraying a plethora of beautiful, fierce world First Nations women just owning their stories, but we're also like mothers and aunties, and you know, a community, and encouraging others to be part of our community. So I think it's important. Well, we do it in the show, we do it after the show, about raising conversations that we think are important. Like, what do you think about some of those things that we continue to raise with venues? Like, you know, childcare was one of them.
Definitely. Childcare is one. It's very interesting around the world, people's different and sometimes non-existent connection to First Nations peoples. Like, you know, having that conversation in New York, where we were like, who are the people that you usually get in to do your acknowledgement? Let's get them in. And it's like, wow, they didn't have anyone, like, you know, which was amazing to us.
Well, and the disconnect there, though, because the interesting thing about this is another part of that story is that it was part of a university, and at the front of that university actually was an exhibition of First Nations work from New York. So, you know, on one side of the building, they're having a small exhibition. On the other side of the building, they don't even know the name of the First Nations people that are from there. So I just think it's interesting, like, not only are we having these conversations that are connected to Indigenous women's, you know, like what we need, you know, but we're also like, in the same sentence with childcare, we're also like trying to, it's an acknowledgement of all the things.
That's it. And just being able to actually, you know, we are like matriarchs in training, and we talk a lot about the matriarchy and how it rolls and how it works and how it takes the village, and how, you know, we have to actually intersect on all the connections and all the levels. Like, you know, even going somewhere like England, where Lil loves the UK, she loves London, the experiences she had there, being able to like be around, in Scotland, you know, those experiences have molded her completely, you know. So even those, but it's because of the conversations that we continue to have and always have, that she's very clear about even her own identity as a, you know, young Black person, and you know, a gender diverse person. Like, I feel like those aspects of like actually living in the tour and being in there have been really monumental. Like, I mean, she's really, she was cut, we couldn't go anywhere this year, but you know, it has really helped to shape her views of the world.
And like, well, really, when you think about like privilege, and so like mostly wealthy people are the ones who can travel with their children and see the world and learn and have all these experiences, which does widen their perspective. Like, you know, the more people, the more you see other people live, the more their perspective is open, right? So why wouldn't we, when we have this opportunity to tour this show, you know, with a bunch of women, none of us are like have lots of money.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we try to also offer an opportunity for the children to be able to have this experience with their mums? Also because we agree that the children should be with their mums. So yeah, I think it's like a bonus. I remember I've talked to Hope before, like just how she's thankful for being able to take Rico to these places and experience those things together. Although he might have just grown out of touring with us now by the sounds of it. But that's interesting too, like how it morphs and changes. And because what does that mean now? So if we were on tour next year and say Rico wants to stay, and he's got Hope's got some support from family, but we still need to help support that. So how do we do? It's an ongoing conversation. I think.
So we do say, one of our excellent hashtags is the revolution cannot happen without childcare. So it's really, we're really pushing the fact that it's a possibility that you can do this. We want to be able to go, this is something that can happen. It is possible. We need the support of everyone to get behind it, everyone in our world, say, whether that be venues, presenters, other artists, audiences, to be able to make this a reality, because it is that thing, like Dr. Angela Davis says, we have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. So this is the premise of what being able to tour with kids is. We're doing it. We're actually doing it.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's just, it's like we are the show in many levels is just a reflection of our beliefs for change, right? So our revolutionary belief that we can change the world that we live in. So whether that is enabling our women to tour with their kids, or shifting somebody's mindset in the show, or selling some merchandise to be able to fund some of these things. It's like what we will make it happen, as resourceful, resilient, women. We're committed to making it happen. And I'll just we're making a shirt. That's right. The revolution cannot happen without childcare. We put it on a badge. We sold it to people. They paid for it. We paid for childcare. So, it's just like, we're just doing it, right? And I don't know, you didn't do any touring when Lily was really little, or?
I did a little bit, which was there's something in Queensland called the Arts Council Tour, and that's where you do pretty much cover the whole of Queensland state, going from Brisbane through to Mount Isa in the west, through to Cape York, and but that was and that was where I first kind of had the experience with hanging out, bringing on an au pair who could help, with childcare and watch those relationships sort of grow as well. There's something quite amazing, and I think Lil's a specific type of human, but just having these really beautiful, smaller one-on-one relationships with someone else in the world, on our last tour to Canada and the States, it was a young artist came on board, Ali, who is a circus artist, but that was a really great kind of relationship to watch happen with because mostly they're exploring and getting to know places that they've never been before, and it's such an exciting thing for a kid to go through.
And I guess we've tried it a bunch of ways. Hey, you've had people who are more teachers, people who are more like sisters, people who are more au pair, you know, like we've attempted all the different versions, I guess, like as the children have been growing and you know, it's a lot to think about. We have to, you know, like think about housing allocations, all the little logistics of moving, you know, like trying not to get up too early for the, you know what I mean? It's like just how we move as a big group, because there are about, I think there's 11 of us when we are traveling with both children. Is that about right? 11?
Yeah.
Which, you know, isn't quite a lot to get the logistics for, but I think we've managed to bumble our way through a blueprint that I think, you know, mostly works for us. So I guess we encourage other companies to consider it. Probably it's funny because it's a female-led company. So in a way, of course, we're thinking of these things and taking them seriously. But we hope that even if you're not female-led, that you will consider, you know, the male parents in the cast, or you know, like whole families coming on tour. Like it's just, you know, it needs to be talked about more often. With it, otherwise, you know, you have parents that could be away all year. Like, you know, this is what we do for a living, is tour. So it's a balance, really, isn't it? I mean, we've come to a balance with us because we've even looked at schedules, haven't we? And we've tried to tour and holidays, school holidays, and and things like that. So I feel like it's also, you know, so that's, I guess, the other side, which is people like me who don't have children, and our producer and things like that, remaining flexible, you know, like, because we could also be like, well, we want to tour at this time, but you know, I think we have to have the conversations and it be flexible. So that's, I guess that's some of our learnings.
Definitely.
Throughout this.
Definitely. And sometimes it does get really difficult going, why doesn't the world consider this some of the most important things to do? You know, it's really quite clear, you know, as full on and as hardcore as children are, like, you know, that they are nourishing and joyful in the same breath, you know, and can bring a lot to, you know, a lot to art and a lot to just by just being around, you know. So it's really and they're not, it's not like they're going away either. So it's kind of like this is a direct thing that needs to happen. It's just so you know. And it's funny because just during this COVID time as well, just going, okay, so like 2 weeks ago, childcare was free across the country. Like, you know, and now
it's possible.
Now it's not anymore. So it's like, everything is possible. We've just got to keep pushing in our own ways, like in our worlds, like with Hot Brown Honey, we start with our world and how we want it to be. And then you know, and then we can reach out a little bit from there. But then, you know, if everyone's doing it in their world, then at some point we're going to intersect.
Exactly. And it's what we place value on as a society. I think, like you said, now is it's been interesting to watch us value the most vulnerable, and that it's possible as a society to do it. Like, you know, so it's about the balance, isn't it? Like making money versus supporting the most vulnerable, or, you know, like it's just, I think it's interesting. And I think you're right. I think if we all push in our own sectors continuously, you know, maybe we can see some shifts happening.
Well, definitely, because there are shifts. Like, you know, they are happening, but like, it's just like, I think we're in this real messy time right now. Everything's going to be real messy for a bit. But I do feel pretty strongly that, like, you know, there are enough people and enough mothers out there who like see the bigger picture, you know, who really can go, it's time we need to make this world great for our kids, you know. That's what it comes down to. We want to protect our futures, you know. And that's even, I was talking to an artist in Sydney Lorna Munro, who has started something called, Black Futures, which is about actually going, like, that thing about your own world. It's like, there are protests that have been going on. It's like, how do we make sure kids are safe for protests? Because they should be there, It's like, so they started like a childcare, like a drop-in childcare in Melbourne for kids to just go and hang out, while their parents are like, fighting the power. I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, well, I guess wrapping it up now, Busty, like, do you have any words of wisdom to, like, other artists, like, and the juggle, maybe? Is that a good question?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard, but, like, I'm not going to glaze that over. It's hard, but it's also, when those things happen or, for us, it was about being able to, take the kids overseas. Like, I mean, we hadn't even been overseas that much. It was so mind-blowing that they were going to have this opportunity. And not only that, they got to go to Edinburgh Festival where, these kids saw more shows than we have seen in our lifetime. They saw everything. Like, it was, what an amazing experience. Like, it is, the payoff's been massive. So I really do feel that there is power in talking about this stuff and also just laying it out straight. This is how we roll. For years, like Lisa was saying, we have, like, been flexible, tried different ways, and had an understanding of where we're going. Like, and now this is just how we roll. So that's possible for all of us,
I mean, if we can do it, but like us, like, a little tiny theatre show, traveling the world crazily, if we can do it. And I think it's so, like, when I think about, the next generation, like, how amazing for, like, the kids, coming with us to see their mums be the biggest, baddest, badasses there is. You know what I mean? It's like that whole be, we cannot be what we cannot see. So in this case, it's like they're just, whether or not they want to come into our world is another question. But it's like, they know what it looks like to see other powerful people on stage, off stage, going to all those shows in Edinburgh. That at least for us, I feel like, we can continue to offer that.
Yeah. I mean, the dream, talking about the dream would be that we have a Hop Brown Honey fund where we, like, be able to send kids to university or, being able to, just help mothers to, like, give those experiences that, we never thought, we're socioeconomic on the lower side. So we never thought these things would happen. But the possibility is now there, and I'll keep on coming back to it because it's just, everything is now possible. We made it work, and we're going to continue to make it work.
Cool. Well, on that note, I think we're going to continue to make it work. It's the moral of the story. But thanks for tuning in. Like, if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, we're just at Hot Brown Honey on all the socials, to keep up with us and the kids and everything that we do to help empower our women, other femmes, other, everybody. So just tune in, follow us, and thanks for sitting and listening to us speak today.